Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. We're here with Devin RJ, and Devin RJ have the Mystical Awakenings. Is there, I don't know, that's like your main tag, right? For the things that you guys kind of do. You're on Facebook, you have your store in Houghton Lake, Michigan. You do the Mystical Awakenings on KGRA, and you said every year you do like a Michigan UFO
Contact convention, yeah.
contact convention, right? That's in the fall?
Yes.
Okay. All
Every
right.
September. This year it's the 20th and 21st.
Okay. You said
Usually the
that's
third weekend of the month, yeah.
okay. Awesome. Well, something for everybody to put in the calendars who can get in their car and get there. It's up in
Absolutely.
Houghton Lake, right?
Yes, at the Lakeside Resort Conference Center on the west side of the lake.
Okay. All right.
Oh yeah, my wife started the Mystical Awakenings store about 12 years ago, but it was called the Unity Tree. And I had met her in 2016. Well, we were getting phone calls. Do you guys cut trees? Are you a Unitarian church? And I said no. She said no. We hug trees. We don't cut them. So, uh, but we had a Mystical Awakenings,
Radio
radio show. So we just changed everything to that because it's much easier.
Okay.
Store name and all that.
So you guys are both, I kind of met you through Mark, Jagger, who wrote the Starboard Quest books, but was kind of fun that through friends, I found Rob Khalil of Typical Skeptic Podcast. And
Yeah.
I said, oh man, he'd be so great. And he's going, oh, I know RJ and Deb. So I was like, oh, okay. So that was kind of fun. And you guys are fairly close to me. You're not much more than an hour. I think you're like an hour and
Right.
6 minutes. So given good weather, it's probably going to be somebody walking, because I'm a magpie when it comes to gems. And I think you guys got a few sitting in your
I got a
pocket
couple.
at this point.
Yeah, I got a couple.
I might have to liberate a couple of them.
Okay. They're waiting for good homes.
Absolutely. So yeah, so why don't you guys kind of tell us what you guys do and how you got into what you do, because I think you guys have kind of like a different background but similar interests.
Well, geez, where to start? I, I mean, I grew up in a family that was, amazing. They were very open-minded and taught me a lot. I was the youngest, and so all my life I've been interested in the paranormal and the metaphysical stuff. And so, I worked at a factory for 33 years, so it was difficult for me to uh, keep on my path and keep concentrated on that kind of stuff. So when I got laid off, went right to it. Or any vacation I had, I went out in the woods and just tried to get my mind together. But when I retired, I moved up to Houghton Lake, and this young lady here had a store, and it took me a couple of years, but I finally got in there. And
3 years.
well, yeah, that's a couple, right? Anyway, uh, so as soon as I walked through the door, it was, it was over, and we wrote a book about it called "Defeating the Archons: A Twin Soul Mission." And so here we are, and I think I've done more in the last, well, since I've been was 7 years than I have my whole lifetime. But it opened up my floodgates again and got me back in my past. She's already been on it, and she was, me coming into her life. I think it regenerated her also, and we just went at it. And we've had so many experiences. We've written a couple books, and she's a medium. I'm a numerologist. My brother was the top numerologist in the world at one time out in LA, and so she got me back into that because I used to do it for fun. But he passed away here, and I carried on his legacy. So it's called the Michael Cassett numerology charts. And anyway, so we've been just nonstop since we've met. And I mean, we've had, I've had UFO experiences when I was younger, and she really wasn't there on that stuff. She was more into the ghost paranormal stuff. Of
Oh,
course, we've been doing that for 30 years too. But uh, when she had her experience here in Houghton Lake, which she can talk about if she wants to, I mean, it wasn't pleasant for her at first, but I was happy that it happened to her because now
Thanks a lot.
we had more stuff to talk about. And we're sitting at the kitchen table, and I said, "Man, I'm so glad our year's over. We can relax now." And she said, "No, we're going to put on a UFO conference." And I looked at her like, "Well, okay." So everything just fell in place, and she can take it over from there.
Yeah. That was not a planned comment, by the way. I had no idea where that was coming from. But when he says I had an experience, I literally had missing time. I had an hour and 9 minutes missing. A lot of things happened. A lot of changes took place. One thing was I didn't sleep for a long time. Um, I became totally obsessed with finding out what the heck happened, who took me, and why. Of course, I still don't have all of those answers, but will spend the rest of my life looking for them. So it was, only a few months after that happened that I made the comment that we were going to put on this UFO conference without a thought. The thought never entered my brain, it just came out my mouth. So I knew that it was not planned by me,
Okay.
and it wasn't.
Right.
It
So,
wasn't.
so what exactly happened for that experience that so profoundly changed your path?
Well, I've always been on a spiritual path. I was born into mediumship. It's very generational in my family. Um, so I grew up talking to the other side as if I were talking to anybody else. That was very normal for me. But of course, by the time I was about 5 or 6, I knew it wasn't normal. And I couldn't do that in front of other people because they were going to put me in a hole, um, or an asylum, I should say.
Yeah.
Um, so, I've always been on the path off and on, um, always interested in proving paranormal. I didn't need to find out for myself that it existed. I wanted to prove what I was seeing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, you know, being back and forth on that, um, like RJ said, I started a metaphysical store in 2012. The workings kind of started in 2003. I became attuned to Reiki in 1996, and by 1998, I was a Reiki master and teaching it. Um, Absolutely love it. And that in itself does change your life. When you become a Reiki master, you don't master Reiki, Reiki masters you. It becomes a way of life. Um, so when I had this, I'll fast forward a little bit because I could talk forever, but in 2016, we were working on an event called World's Largest Ghost Hunt. And it's a worldwide event. It was televised and everything. And Brian Kano, one of the people who was heading it up, instructed all of the mediums to be open for about a week or so before the event. Be open to whatever, stay in a place of meditation, listen, be open. So we were working on setting up the event, and it was September 31st. And I left to drive home at about 1 o'clock in the morning. And all of a sudden I felt very odd. And I looked down at my clock because I thought, my God, what time is it? I'm going to have to stop somewhere. I'm going to be sick. And it was 111. A little ironic, right? But I couldn't, you can't unsee that number on your clock. Well, as I was looking up, what I actually saw was a pyramid shape coming down over my car, with bright golden light, and it was slowly spinning. I couldn't move. It was totally frozen. My car bogged down,
Came
and
on.
the interior lights came on. It was totally insane. It was like I could feel hair everywhere on my body just being pulled. So I I assumed I had gone into shock because the next thing I knew, I was sitting in my driveway that is only a little less than 3 miles away from that spot.
Okay.
And it took a few days for me to realize I had missing time, but I found out that I did because when I got to my driveway, I ran in the house. Still, my lights would not go off, my interior lights in my car. Um, I ran into the house and sent a message to a teammate saying, "You're not going to believe what I saw." And I didn't see that message, go back and look at it, for 2 days. But I ended up
Sorry.
an hour and 9 minutes missing with no idea what happened.
Yeah.
So,
We were married at the time, but I had to leave early because I had readings to do in Clare the next day. But yeah, so you know, I had no idea this was going on, and she told me finally the next day.
yeah. Yeah, we were dating at the time.
Mhm.
Um, they did send somebody from MUFON. I did make a MUFON report because many people said, you need to report this. Um, and somebody came about 2 months later. It took a while to get someone there
Yeah,
to test my vehicle. And when they did,
it had high radiation on it,
yeah,
Oh,
more than normal. Yeah.
so they said, obviously something made contact with it. And he showed us the difference between our car and his car. He had a meter,
It's quite a difference,
and there was quite a bit of difference,
even after a couple months.
right? So
really?
that
Mhm.
was probably what made my lights come on and
And
my
your hair
hair
stand
stand
up.
up. Right. Yeah, it was an odd feeling. Many crazy things since then. I ended up with a lot of hearing issues and growths inside of my ears and just some weird things have happened
Huh,
since. Mhm. Yeah.
okay.
So mine happened when I was 19. Well, when I was a kid, things were in my room. I spent many nights in my parents' bed because I could see these little 3 foot shadows walking around my room. But when I was 19, I went backpacking for the first time up here in Michigan, and with a friend of mine. And it was 1975 in July, middle of July. We were just going for the night because we'd never done it before. But that night we were sitting on a high bank on the Asaba River. And he said, "Look, somebody's camping over there across the river." It was a big orange glow. And all of a sudden, this orange ball pops up and down, and then it starts moving right and then left. And we're looking at each other. Which way is it going now? Because we wanted to make sure we're saying the same thing. And it came out onto the river in front of us. It was about 10 feet around. And he was shaking me. What is it? What is it? He's had no idea what was going on. Like I said, I grew up in a family where I thought this is a UFO. Now, during the day, I've got to tell you this: during the day, these B-52 or what are they bombers would fly low over the river from Wordsmith Air Force Base, and they were so low and so loud you could not talk. And I could see everything on the plane and read everything and see the people in it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, this thing came out. I started talking to it. What are you? What do you want? It didn't make a noise. And then it kind of moved up into a 2 o'clock position. And the next thing we remember, we were kind of laying side by side with our heads, like we don't remember it leaving or where to go. And we just got up and he said, "Nobody's going to believe us." And I said, "I know." So the next day, some younger guys came through. They asked, we asked them, "Did they see anything?" They looked at us like, "What were you taking last night?" Um, we weren't, I mean, I think we had one joint, that was back in 75.
Right.
So, uh, I lived with that all my life. About 16 years later, I was watching a show called Sightings, and it said in 1975, over a 6-week period, these orange lights came into these Air Force bases and shut their nuclear weapons down. Now, this is recorded. One of them was Worst Air Force Base. I had no idea we were close to there. I mean, when I say close, we were, you know, 30 miles, 30, 40 miles maybe. So anyway, they chased these orange lights out to Lake Huron down to Saginaw. They finally took off on them, but and it happened in Maine and it happened in Montana, um, like 2 weeks apart. So I don't think I saw a UFO. I think I saw something from a UFO that was monitoring, what was going on.
Hmm.
So that's my conclusion about it. But so anyway, ever since I was 19 years old, I've been trying to find answers, and this thing's real, And I've had many encounters after that. We were doing an investigation in Everett, Michigan. There was 10 of us. We're at night out by the river. We were doing an investigation on these people who had drowned there in the past, and so I looked up at the sky. It was beautiful. I'm always looking at the sky. They always tease me about that, but I said, I know you're there. I mean, I was just talking to myself, just show me a sign, show me a sign. And sure enough, what looked like a star blew up and lit us all up, and then right back down to nothing. So that was just one encounter that at least I got some confirmation, and at
Right.
least 8 out of the 10 people saw it. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and
That's
you
why
carried
I
that
was glad she
forward.
got. Yeah,
Huh?
that's why I was glad that she had an experience.
Okay.
So, because
And
it
that
gave
was
us.
way before that Deb did though. So
Yeah.
you had multiple encounters.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, as far as sightings go, yeah, I've done some pretty deep meditations on trying to contact them and what they call CE5 work now, where my lights were going off on everywhere, and I just said thank you. It was just, confirming that something or someone was there. So
Right, right.
yeah. But
So
anyway,
this
that's
that's
what
kind of how
happened
you
to
got
us.
started with it, huh?
Yeah.
So, and I know that you're semi-retired. I don't think you're retired because you've got the store and you're very much involved with, trying to spread this word. Um, so what, and Deb, I think you're still very active in your mediumship, right? And you're still
Yes,
practicing Reiki
absolutely.
and amongst other things?
It's definitely a part of me and always will be.
She attuned me to the Reiki, so we both do it together. We do
Okay.
chakra balancing here at the store.
Okay. Okay.
Still very, very involved in the whole spiritual. Um, you know, I had a conversation with someone the other day and they were talking about Reiki and said, I want to look into more alternative healing. And I always want to let people know many of us who do the work don't see it as alternative healing. We see it as complementary healing. We really need the medical field as well. So, I
Yeah,
just want to say that it goes together.
yeah. If you got
Right.
a broken bone, you need to see a doctor.
Right. Yeah.
Unless you're me, I just kind of ignore it, put some tape on it.
Well, yeah, I can't speak for you, but
That that
they
would
offer Reiki in the hospitals now. They offer Reiki in the hospitals now. So I'll tell you a little story about um, my brother Tom. Both my brothers passed away here at the house a little while back, but he had been fighting heart disease all his life, and he went out to get his mail, and 3 hours later, a policeman on a busy road found him in the ditch, and they called the ambulance, and somehow they got a heartbeat back. Now I'm that was down in Flint, Michigan. We're up here. We got the call about 10:30. We got down about midnight. He was on life support and ice and everything else. And we never talked about, what he wanted to do if he was in that situation. So we started doing Reiki on him. And next thing I know, his leg moved. And I said, Tom, can you hear me? He went. So after doing this Reiki, we called the doctor in. She was just couldn't believe her. Oh my God, oh my God. Then she started talking to him. And so, they called him a miracle patient for until he got out of there. But I'm not saying it was the Reiki, but we applied Reiki on him, and that's what happened after he had been out for all those hours.
And they continued to say it was impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, his room had about 15 medics in there immediately because there was no way. I mean, they literally had him on ice.
They probably want to know if we were extraterrestrials or not, bringing him back to life.
Technically, they called
I don't
us
know,
to.
are you?
We've been asked that.
Yeah. What do they call you?
Technically, they
Walk-ins.
right. Yeah. Oh yeah, you never know.
You never know.
Never know.
And it's like you said, it is a Reiki and I think this is going to be my go-to for just a hot minute is the idea that everybody has a different need because they are unique, and having these different modalities is going to be really important with what we're dealing with now. And it's not going to get any, you can't say it's going to get more difficult. It's not going to get easier, but it's just going to get different. We're going to have to be very creative with how we're going to be able to keep moving forward. And complimentary, I think, is a kind way of putting it. I think it's going to be obviously for the story that you just told, it's going to be pivotal in a lot of people's lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I think we do need the supports as long as there's a reduction in some of the confusion in that field with what is or is not healthy. So,
Yeah, I see the future of like medical going electricity, light therapy, sound therapy.
sound, yep.
Yeah, it's there. I think this technology is waiting. It's just, they got to release it and let it go. But you're asking the whole world to change their way of views and how
Yep.
we go about doing life and free energy. And we're talking about people are just don't they wouldn't feel comfortable losing a job to new technology. But um, there's other fields we can go into, and that's like, maybe healing or whatever we want to do. So um, it's just, that's the biggest part of disclosure is how are we going to do it? How are we going to do this? How are we going to change to the point where everybody has to think differently? And I think that's the challenge.
Yeah, and I had a conversation with my friend Stone Hobbit yesterday about how we were, um, how are we gonna move forward? And she says, if you think you can't do something for yourself and be independent of things like the grocery stores or whatever, that you can just go buy a potted plant. I mean, we even had like a brief conversation about, heirloom seeds. If you can start with some heirloom seeds, and as you can program those seeds specifically to your body's needs. You can share some of your DNA just by putting the seed in your mouth and swishing it around for a second with good intention and the right mindset. And that thing will be more nutritious specifically to your needs than what it would be if you just put it in the ground and watered it. And, she said building that relationship with it's really important. And you just need a pot or a few pots and a shelf. It doesn't matter if you live in the city or in the country. You don't need a big plot of land.
Well, there's information out there that says that these scientists from Germany actually created a replicator, and they're using amino acids to create food. And just like Star Trek. So,
Mhm.
and Star Trek they had cell phones, remember?
Yep, they
He didn't
sure
know what
did.
cell phone. He didn't know
The
what cell phones
communicators.
were.
Yeah.
Uh, so, if that's true, if everybody could get something like that in their home, one thing, we wouldn't have to kill any more animals. Two, nobody has to go hungry. That's the most important thing. and 3, you can have whatever you want. So I think that I know that sounds so futuristic and so science fiction, but I'm telling you, it's not so far off and far fetched that we can actually have things like that. So we just have to believe in it and manifest it and make it real.
Right. I think when you talk about something like that, the only thing that comes to my mind is, uh, does
Nutrition.
humanity as a collective have the emotional maturity to manage something like that? Because I can imagine what some people might be replicating and would not be in their best interests.
Yeah, well, that's
It's
you
so-
might have to have replicator police coming around and see what you're doing there, man. Right. So yeah, I mean, you have to be sane to use it for sure.
No, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true. Uh,
But
that's,
yeah, you
I
bring
never
things, well,
I never thought about that. I just we could go a lot of places there, couldn't we?
yes, we could. But yeah, no, you mentioned about the numerology, and you said that that's something that my mom really picked up on. Mom's been gone for over 20 years now, but when I was a little kid, she used to read about numerology. Somebody asked me, well, numerology, isn't that like gematria? And I said, no. Numerology is quite different. So maybe you might want to kind of talk about what it is to you and go from there.
Numbers is letters have meanings and words have meanings, and numbers do too. It's kind of more universal language wherever you go. You can use numbers instead of words and languages, but what it is basically, the chart that I use, it's just it gives you more information about yourself, and it's amazing how it works. I just did a reading yesterday, and the guy's going, that's spot on, and um, it's I'm just fascinated how it works. Uh, I'm intuitive, empathic, so I pick up other things when it comes through also, but you don't have to be empathic or intuitive to do numerology. But it works. That's like I say, it works. My brother did over 40,000 readings, and he read for some I probably shouldn't say their names, but very prominent people in Hollywood. I mean, I think one name I can use is Frank Sinatra because he's gone now, but he was invited to his 80th birthday party to do his numbers. But he was always fascinated with numbers, and it's it's hard to, I mean, unless you have a chart done, but I can tell you, it's like a blueprint of yourself. It tells
So
you
what
more
number, what
information.
numbers do you use? I know the one numbers that I'm obviously going to be thinking about is my birth date and the time of birth, but there's got to be more to it than just that.
Yeah, so uh, this chart that I use has a soul number, and you always use your name at birth, and you use the vowels to figure that out. You add those up. And of course, in numerology, if it's 35, you break it down to 1 through 9. Some people use the number 0. I don't. Um, so 35 would be 8. 29 would be 9 and 10 is 11, which is 2. But 11, 22, 33, those are called master numbers. We can get into those. But so your soul number, this is the reason why you're here. This is your identity, what you came to accomplish this lifetime. Because I believe the soul's eternal. Okay, I mean, you can't learn everything in one lifetime. Let's put it that way. Like you said, these are apartments, these are shells, and so. And the next number, you use the consonants. You figure out the mind, not the brain, but the mind. And this is how you feel about things. This is how you think about things, how you perceive things on the etheric level. Uh, and then you get into the personality, which is your physical world. And that number figures by adding the soul number and the mind number. Uh, Personality is your physical self. This is how people perceive you in the physical world. This is your talents in the physical world. It's your identity in the physical world and what you do. So, and then your birth date, it's called the life lesson number. And this number is with you every day. And this is what you have to pay attention to in order to fill your physical and spiritual needs. Okay. To a better height. So, and then you get into a power number. which is when everything's plugged in and everything's vibrating right. You feel good with this vibration, this number. And then I get into life opportunities. I can tell you what opportunity had you from birth to like in your 20s, and then it goes 9 year increments. Um, I can tell you your emotional and physical challenges. I can tell you what year you're in. I can tell you what month you're in. I break it down to a month, or I could break it down to a day. It may be what's best opportunities to find a job, or best opportunities to talk to somebody about your relationships, or the best, the best day to just find out information that you want to find out. So you can break it down into many, many things. Uh, so I just found, I found that it worked. And strangely enough, we work events. She'll be giving a reading to somebody. I'll give the reading to the same person. And many, many times we've told the same information to that person without knowing.
Huh.
So yeah, so it connects, and she'll get numbers when she's doing readings. And I said, yeah, I gave her that number. So well,
Well,
gave her that number.
numbers are vibration and frequency.
Mhm.
Yep.
And spirit, language isn't a big deal with spirit because they don't really need it. So while they do communicate, they oftentimes use numbers. So it's not uncommon, and never has been for me, anyways, as a medium, to get numbers from people. So, it blows us away that those numbers will come up in a numerology reading as well as a mediumship reading.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what's your day and month? What's your day and month?
It's 7/11.
7/11. Okay. So we have 9 and 8. So you're in an 8 year. And this is the year to manifest. This is the year to be successful. This is the year it's a very powerful number, to get those ideas that are, a little different out there. So yeah,
Like doing a show like this.
right.
Yeah. Hey, when I got people looking at me like I got 9 heads, I think I'm on the right path.
Yep, exactly. Exactly.
It's also a good year to organize things and get things really tightened up and in place. So yeah, but the main thing is accomplishing stuff. You'll be able to accomplish a lot of things this year if you get on that vibration.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely the truth. It doesn't come easy, especially when I do tell people I have been under a rock for many decades. And so it is not easy when you're someone who's kept to themselves most of their life, even in childhood. So one of the things that I try to keep in mind is getting comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I hope that becomes cliche sounding, because I think that's important for anybody. And the other thing is doing the affirmations and making them personal. So you see people a lot of times, maybe like on TikTok or something like that, and oh, this works, and they'll boom, rapid fire, they'll give you something, and it's like, okay, and I will cherry pick some of the things that people will put out there, and those will become it's very living to me. It's like a living piece of work for me, because it's
Mhm.
constantly changing. That's why I have to have it somewhere where it's digital. I've got a book that I've scribbled things out and I rewrite it. It's like, I'm going to run out of the book, and when I could be using it for other things, that's a little more, let's move on and keep that there. So
Yeah.
I've been using something digital, whether it's here or on a computer or something, and keeping that changing because I'm changing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it also has the ability to, if you could convince other people of your ideas, they will get on board with you and they will help you and say, yeah, this is great. Let's do this. So you just have to come out with it and manifest it. And like you said, affirmations and all those things help. So do it.
Right, right. And you do have to work within your abilities to a certain degree.
Mhm.
I don't think you can't like bully or force things to
Right.
happen. That's why I think the manifestations and that to manifest the affirmations are so important.
And you have to trust them too, though. You have to have trust in them. You have to have You gotta have faith in them and trust them that you know what you're thinking about, what you're feeling, it's real. It's a real thing.
So do you think that there's a lot of pushback on some of the things that people are trying to manifest right now because of some of the societal pressures? I don't know, is that kind of vague
Yeah,
or?
I mean, we being in this small town that we're in, even just having a business like we have, it's not the easiest thing to do because a lot of people don't believe or think like us or whatever. So yeah, it's always going to be difficult. You're gonna always going to have somebody saying something about it and doing things, but you have to believe in yourself and you have to believe in what you do, and um, just you can't be afraid. This is what you are, who you are. Just be yourself,
Right.
right?
So I know that too, that the store that you have, the Mystical Awakenings, you got an amazing couple of pictures of some of the beauties you have sitting on the shelf. So how do you view what those crystals are? What do they mean? What's their relevance? Nothing. It's like I'm sitting here with all these little guys, and I even have a vocal one. So
That's nice. I like that one.
Wonderful.
yeah. So yeah, so what is this? What is the draw? What is the purpose? Some people say leave them in the ground because they belong to Gaia, and other people are saying, you gotta have your hand up. I can feel them. The resonance in my hand changes. And if I can hold something for long enough, I don't have them out here, but I bought some nice borosilicate glass, like test tubes. And I was putting resin metals. I was doing like the Wilhelm Reich thing, and I was making these. And I thought this would really help a Reiki practitioner, either with cleansing themselves or maybe setting some specific energies. I could use any crystal that would be necessary or helpful. But I didn't like the idea of using resin inside of that. So I got one set up and ready to go that, I don't know, maybe I should give it to you, Deb, and you can let me know if it's helpful to you, if it resonates with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um, what do you
Yeah,
think?
I do have some, in fact, I have one right here. Where is it? This little baby right here is
Okay,
selenite,
well, Daddy.
with an amethyst on it. It's
okay,
hard to see, but
yep,
there is some resin on here holding the amethyst there. There's copper wire wrapping other stones around it. It does, to me, that doesn't take away from, I mean, you don't want to completely encase something in resin, I wouldn't think, but to combine it should be okay. My feelings have always been they're a tool,
yes,
and they're a gift. They're for us to use for many reasons, and healing is a big reason to have the different properties with the stones. Um, to leave them in Mother Earth is nice, but they do us a lot more good if we take them and use them. I do feel we have to do it respectfully,
yes,
um, and use them respectfully, cleanse them often. Um, don't, I hear a lot of people say, well, I soaked it in salt water overnight. Never do that.
yeah,
But they are a tool and they're a beautiful tool. It's something that came to us. It is part of the earth.
yep,
So why wouldn't we use these in a way that, helps all of us? It can make your home nicer. It can make your body healthier.
They're just from Gaia.
yeah.
Right. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I got a few of my
Yeah.
pyramids.
oh yes, I see. Beautiful.
I think I
Beautiful.
got like 20 of them, but yeah, there's a few more over there, but
Well,
um
Mhm.
a lot of people don't realize that the pyramids in Giza they're full of crystals. I mean, they're made
well,
of.
mine are not all of them, but mine are eight-sided, just like Giza.
Oh wow.
So I thought that that was kind of important.
Yeah, but
So
it's made
not,
out
like I
of
said,
granite,
hmm?
it's made out of granite, which has a lot of crystal in it.
Right, right. And I think it's, and I've seen images of them, the resin pyramids with the gemstones, just like what Reich did with that formula. But again, I like the idea better of not having any resin with something like a Reiki tool. I think it's too concentrated and small. But I did see someone who had taken one of those EMF
Detectors, yeah.
meters,
Yep.
and they had their modem or their Wi-Fi or whatever, and they put the resin pyramid down, and then they took the EMF reader, and they couldn't read anything unless they put it behind it. And then when they pulled the pyramid out, the meter just went up. So you can't believe everything you see just because you saw it on YouTube. So
Right.
I would like to be able to at one point get a meter and just test that out. And
Yeah,
that,
that'd be interesting. Yeah, that would be
yeah,
interesting.
I mean, and because you mentioned earlier that you were looking for scientific proof
Hmm.
for your experiences. And I think that we are just now starting to have that technology made known to us. I think it's been here for a long time, but I think for general knowledge, for the more people to understand it and believe it. Otherwise, I think people would just go, it's a bunch of hooey. But now I think people are a little bit more open to that. There are just too many examples, to a placebo. Well, what's the placebo? The placebo is you. You cured yourself. It's like, oh, it's just a placebo. Give me the placebo. If I can cure myself, I'll take it.
Yeah,
And
right.
they trivialize it.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
so yeah, what do,
well,
what do you think about the scientific proof side of it?
well, I think science and spirituality are getting closer together. I mean, the parasciences, we're not able to explain everything through just science. So um, it's getting better. I think it's getting closer together. And I'm not really talking about just, so much religion and science. I'm talking, there's things that we are studying now, the metaphysical sciences and the paranormal, that science, they weren't trained to do that. They weren't trained to deal with that kind of stuff. But as you can see, people are seeing spirits, people are seeing UFOs, people are seeing cryptozoology, the beings, and everything. Uh, and I would say, I always say, if someone's from a religious aspect, don't limit the creator, what he can do and what he's got going on here. When I say science, don't limit yourself what's going on out here. Just don't, it's just all not about facts. You've got to expand your mind and realize there's much more out in this universe that we don't know about. So open up your minds to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think you're right about a lot of people's limiting beliefs are going to be the biggest challenge for people to overcome and be
Yeah.
able to benefit from it, for something to be even the science is a religion. It's just a set of belief systems based on a theory.
Yeah.
And then what they might argue is like it's repeatable and measurable and all that kind of business. And that's not necessarily going to come up with the same result. So it's kind of science, but it's not, because I think we're all different, you know.
There was a
So
quote by Einstein, and I don't remember what it was, but it basically said that you can't be a scientist without understanding that there's a spiritual aspect to it. So
I think somebody credited Einstein with saying that he's kind of studied the universe. He knows a little bit about it, and he spent all those years studying, trying to, comprehend what he was looking at as far as the universe is concerned. And he said the conclusion that he came to is that the universe is love. So
yeah,
that comes from somebody who, you typically wouldn't think that that would have come from, but you know, you get deep enough into it, you keep asking why. You're that 4 or 6 year old kid that keeps asking why.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a religious person so much. I'm a spiritual person, but I know the Bible said you will not enter the kingdom of the heavens unless you're like a child. And that means you got to have that childlike wonder and open-mindedness and want to learn and learn more and learn more and learn more. You won't understand out there if you're close to it. You know, you have to be like, wow, that's like, what's this? I want to know what it is. You want to ask questions. You would, but why? But why? What's this? So I think that's what that meant, in my opinion.
Yep, yep, absolutely, absolutely. And it doesn't mean to get to heaven that you have to die.
Right. Right.
Uh, yeah, so we're not advocating that trip.
Yeah. We're not, no, we're not going to do that.
Well, and our belief is there is no true death.
Yeah. So,
Right, there's only the physical that kind of gets a little run down, and gravity is
Mhm.
not our friend as we get older. Um,
well, we partnered with my brother on a second book. It was called Worlds Beyond Death. And you can get it on Amazon. And, uh, but basically, it talks about how there is no death using the number systems that he had. And it's a pretty amazing.
hmm,
I know when he first came out with it, like 89, that he looked at he said, RJ, they don't get it. The publishers don't get it. So when he
right,
came here, I asked him if we could kind of redo it and put our own stuff in there. And he said, yeah, whatever you have to do. So that's when I showed it to her. She said, this information needs to be out there. So,
right,
uh, yeah. So if you get a chance to check that out, it's pretty amazing.
okay, that's pretty awesome. All right, so where did you want everybody to find you guys, get in touch with you guys, maybe because you're doing some online work as well? So what,
Yes, we do. Well, anybody can, contact us through our email, and that is rdeb1soul@gmail.com. And it's ARDEB number one, SOUL, @gmail.com. We can be, contacted right here at our store, Mystical Awakenings in Houghton Lake, Michigan. Look us up. There's a website. We have a website for the Michigan UFO Contact, and that's miufocon.com. We have Facebook pages with the Michigan UFO Con, with Mystical Awakenings, and with our vodcast, Mystical Awakenings vodcast on Facebook, and that is also the name of our YouTube. And that can be found, boy, all over the place. We're with KGRA Digital Broadcasting, and every Thursday night,
It's KAJ.
no, KGRA.
All right. That's right. Easy for you
Yeah.
to say.
Um, and on Friday nights, we do a show called The Voices of Contact. And that's on every Friday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time. And that's kind of shown all over the place as well, but mainly on our Mystical Awakenings podcast on YouTube.
okay,
And that's where the regressionist from MUFON in Michigan, they allow her regression teach regressionists allow them to play the recordings back. We talk about it because we're all experiencers. Currently, right now, we have Michael Carter from Ancient Aliens on there, and Deb Cobble, who was the main character in Cloud Hopkins' Intruders, which is the TV series was made out of, and then us, and then Mary Bassett is the creator of it. She's the regressionist.
wow, okay, very cool.
So that's Thursday night and Friday night. Thursday night at 7 o'clock with KGRA and on YouTube, and 8 o'clock on Fridays.
You
So
thought
we're
you
not too
were
hard
retired.
to find.
I was gonna say, you guys thought you were retiring, right?
Oh no, I never plan to retire. When I stop breathing, I stop living and loving.
Yeah, and my go-to
Die.
thing is that the definition of retirement is really important. So my definition of retirement is doing what you want when you want.
Yes. Yes,
So
very
you guys
true.
are already retired.
Right. There you go. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, awesome sauce. Well, I really appreciate you guys spending time with me today.
Thank you for
Maybe we can
having
do
us.
it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to step up to the store at some given point in time. It is a little chilly bean, and I do have a day job during the week, so it would probably be on your Saturday, because you did say the store was open Thursday through Saturday,
Yeah, let
12.
us know. We can go out to have a bite to eat or something and talk. It'd be nice.
I mean, I actually would have to have a social life
Well,
with
That might
real
be good
deal
for you.
humans.
it's not like you're in New York City here. I'll tell you that.
No,
But I have to
definitely.
warn you, a hug.
Oh,
I,
that's
I
no
am a
warning.
hugger.
That's awesome. But
I don't think
it'll raise my immune system, because that's what hugs do.
That's
right,
right.
right. I don't think humans have enough physical contact.
I agree 100%. So I will put as many of these contact details as I possibly can in the description below. And I thank you
Yeah.
very much, Deb and RJ, and I appreciate all the viewers stopping by. Thank you so much. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you have a mind to do so. But everyone, just be blessed. Thank you.
Thank you.